I think this is the first time you and I have had a conversation, just you and me.
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason for that is in this past year, you work with Legacy Electric, and you have stepped into an owner status. And so I wanted to kind of just touch base with you about that. And also, we're out here on one of your projects. You guys are building this hotel in the background.
Yeah.
I could do with a little less snow. This is only my second podcast in the snow. And yeah, they have the Bronco there trying to block some of the wind, but it is failing miserably.
It's slightly tundra-ish.
Tundra-ish. I like that. I like that. So does it feel any different being an owner?
There was a little bit of a transition, but it was such a long transition point. And I don't mean long as in like a huge time frame, but we had been discussing it, leadership roles, and as I came into it, once the finality of being an owner was executed, it kind of felt like I've already been here.
Yeah.
So, no, nothing changed at that moment.
Yeah.
What I am finding is going forward from that point, I am starting to learn a new role more than what I was expecting.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, like we talked about, this is one of my projects, and I'm pretty active in helping to manage this one. Our superintendent of operations is taking a heavy hand in it as well. So it's a full team press on this project, but I'm really going away from project management in an intense sense.
Yeah.
But I'm still needing to be involved, needing to know what's going on, but I'm not necessarily the one pushing the buttons or
pulling the levers.
Doing the work that's basically client forward.
Yeah.
At times I am, but more it's driving team cohesion and making sure the bigger picture is being addressed and not just the individual project. So, it's a wider picture.
Yeah.
And I think that's the role that I'm learning more so now than maybe several months ago.
Yeah. I think one of the big things I can remember experiencing the different roles growing, and I don't want to say climbing the ladder because I hate that term. I hate that people use that term, but moving to the next step or the next opportunity. I like to say that we're on a field and, you might have different positions, but it's not like one is above the other. The field is ever growing.
Right.
So,
yeah, I would look at it like, taking the next hill.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that you're climbing vertically and you're going up as high as you can. It's more, all right, we're going to trudge forward. It's going to be flat for a while, and then it's going to be really steep, and then it'll level off again. But the goal isn't just to get yourself there; it's to get the whole team there.
Yeah.
So we've heard this before. Tides raise all ships.
Yeah. Rising tides raise all boats.
That's it. I was close.
Yeah.
But from a team standpoint, management and the executive level and ownership means making sure your team gets there with you.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. So I like the expanding field view, but there's also hills and mountains in there that we got to get through, and there's valleys too. So you can get down the swamp every once in a while, and that's just as miserable as climbing straight up.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you, I was in a meeting the other day here with your president, and he made a comment to me. He goes, well, I feel like Legacy is kind of like a nursery for electricians. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he shared with me some thoughts, and he basically said that he believes that companies out there, we actually need to be that. Like I understood it as a negative, and I was like, and he said, no, we need to change our mindset. Instead of always looking for the most experienced, looking for, well, and I want to be careful because I want to ask you what you think he meant by that before I say what he said. But what does that mean for you? And do you think that's an accurate statement?
Well, that's an interesting, I know that I hadn't talked to him about that, and I hadn't heard that from him. But it's interesting that he said that because we have been having a recent slew of interviews with new potential employees.
Yeah.
And almost all of them have zero experience in
Yeah.
the trade or in the electrical industry. So we are looking at taking somebody that is moldable and brand new and really doesn't know anything, is a baby electrically.
Yeah.
I don't mean that electrically, I mean in the electrical trade.
Yeah.
But we're going to help them grow. We're going to teach them how to do it, how we see it should be done, to code and all the specs and requirements. And that is a nursery for electricians, I guess. So, and we're doing it from it's not that we're not looking for experience, because clearly if they're the right fit for our company, we want to hire somebody that has experience, and that would be fine.
Yeah.
But I think we need to start being a nursery for electricians, because electricians don't just happen. They have to go from being that young kid out of high school or out of college or wherever he's coming from or she's coming from, and say, you got to learn this. You have to go from the bottom all the way through all the stuff that we've all done as electricians. I was the gopher for a while. I was the guy holding a flashlight up so that they could see where they were putting their conduit in or where they were mounting something. I was the one that was like, here you go, run these string lights down this hallway, do that 100 times throughout this building, but I had to go through that to understand what it was to start from the beginning of a project electrically, and then see it all the way to the end. And, over the past 20, 25 years that I've been in and out of this industry, I feel like I have experienced a lot of it, but I haven't experienced all of it.
Yeah, that's the one amazing thing about the electrical industry in particular, I think, is there are so many different facets. I know people, and I've talked with some who have worked their entire career in one area of the electrical trade, and it's like, but then you work in something, a different sphere or division of electrical work,
Right.
and it's totally different.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, every once in a while, I like to go out on a job site and pretend I can still do this stuff. I'll help pull, cable in through a big pole or something, just to make myself feel like I can do this still.
Yeah.
But I am just in awe of what our team and, the people that are out there in the trade, what they can do now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do everything that they're doing. I mean, everyone at Legacy that's working on all these different projects, I see some of the stuff they're doing. I was like, I never got to do that when I was out in the field or when I was, in the thick of working through the trade. So I love it. And I think the nursery metaphor is important because we need electricians, we need tradespeople, we need plumbers, we need HVAC workers, we need mechanics. And that doesn't happen because you throw money at it. That happens because you put a person in situations where they don't know exactly what to do, but they have the skill set to try to do it.
What does that skill set look like? Like, what do you mean when you say that they have the skill set to try to do it? Because I would think not everybody that doesn't know what they're doing is someone that you're willing to take a risk on.
No. So there's two aspects to that skill set. One is, the mechanical inclination and the physical ability to do the work. We can kind of you can train someone to do that pretty easily. And they're either going to get it or they're not. But the good thing about the trades is that you don't just have to be an installer or someone that works in the field. There are other aspects of the industry that you can get into, management, office work, etc. But the other aspect that we look at for the trades is, do they have the ability to manage the pressure that comes along with it? Do they have the ability to be client forward and interact with the client without basically making the company or someone else look bad? Can they work with other trades and not get upset or, get sidetracked?
Yeah.
Focus is important. Being able to be dedicated, show up on time. So, there's a laundry list of what makes an employee a good employee or a good fit for a company. But when we talk about the trades, you have to be able to think critically through a problem. And
what does that look like? Like when you say think critically through a problem, can you break that down for me in like 3 steps?
Sure. 1, look around. What's happening around me and what needs to get done? 2, am I prepared to do it? And can I do it right now? And do I have everything I need to do it? And 3, if I run into a problem, can I think through how to fix it and get around it? before lighting things on fire and running around saying, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Somebody needs to come in and help me. We certainly want to work as a team, but I want an individual or somebody that wants to be in the trade to be able to kind of think outside the box and be like, all right, well, what makes sense to make this right?
Yeah.
We run into situations where, oh man, how am I going to get this conduit through this wall? Or, how am I going to route it around all these other trades? Or when we're putting site work in, there's always stuff in the ground that we're trying to move around.
Yeah.
And it takes pre-planning.
You mean like snow?
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, we're talking about like sewer lines and gas pipes.
Sorry. Snow's kind of on my mind right now. I don't know why, but
I mean, we try not to dig in the snow too much, but we end up doing it. But you have to pre-plan that. And there are going to be situations that arise that are dangerous, that are accidental, that happen. And we can't lose our cool when that happens. We have to, one, make sure we're being as safe as possible. And two, find out quickly how to fix the problem.
Yeah.
We can't just throw our arms up, walk away and say, oh, that wasn't my fault, and not take care of it. So
yeah. Talk to me about, I'm curious because we were talking a little bit before we came on air here, and you were just kind of talking about coordinating and working with the MEPs and whatnot. Talk to me a little bit about when you talk about doing your work, the MEP, when I say that, if you don't know what that is, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trades. Just the other day, I heard, random sidebar here, that plumbers have saved more lives than doctors.
Hygienically, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know that they're in the operating room, but plumbers have saved more lives than doctors just because the stuff with, making sure that
sanitation happens.
The dirty water is leaving where you live and the clean water is coming to where you live.
Yeah, I think so. We could study some Roman history on that. We'd probably think about that about 8 times a day.
That's crazy. But my question for you is, in the MEP trades, those are all systems. They all work that way, and it's very different than other aspects of the trades. It's very unique. And you were talking with me about, an issue that you had where you're always trying to explain or communicate what it is to work on a system, because people can be like, well, you need to just do that. And it's like nothing that you do is just do that.
Right.
So, what does that look like?
Well, I mean, it is across the board. The MEPs are critical in knowing that just because you're putting that there doesn't mean it's complete there.
Yeah.
We have to come back through and touch those items several times before the project's complete. And, we're electricians, so we like to think that, our system is more, I should say critical, but it's not necessarily more critical. But it is one of the longest installation from beginning to end of the project overall.
So you're some of the first boots on the ground and the last to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're at the same time, we're coordinating with every other trade the entire way through.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're dependent on us to get things done so they can move forward. And sometimes we're dependent on them to complete their step so that we can come in and do ours. And that's where the coordination is critical. And when we're talking to people who don't understand the trades or the systems of the trades, it's hard to not dumb it down, but it's hard to explain that power doesn't flow like water through a conduit. There are other aspects that we have to consider when running our conduit versus how a plumber runs his conduit. There's different setups for a mechanic that has to run ductwork that's different than plumbing or the electrical conduits. So every trade is unique in their own right, but they're not equatable.
Yeah.
So it's hard to explain it to somebody who isn't in their trade.
Yeah.
But when we have to do that, we have to kind of break it down simplistically.
Yeah. Layman's terms, so to speak. And that doesn't mean so let's touch on this a little bit, because like if you go on Instagram or TikTok, which I'm sure you're all over those platforms, but if you go on those things, a electricians kind of have a reputation. And that reputation is like they think they're all that, or they don't know how to touch a broom. I saw a meme the other day of this electrician, and it's on Instagram, and it was like all these girls were around him, and it was like, yeah, he's the electrician. And it's like, why do you think that electricians have that? That's the way that people like tease and make fun of them. And how do you avoid that mantra? Because I'm hearing you say that each and every trade works together to build a building. Like you have a hotel here by, I don't know that I can say their brand name, but a pretty famous brand that builds hotels all over the country. And it's not being built by just drywallers or just plumbers or just electricians. It's being built by a team of people working together. And we're here because this is a project that you have referenced, that the team overall, all of the different trades and the different companies, from the, from the first person on the team to the last person on the team in all of the different trades, including the general contractor and the construction manager, are all working together, and the team is operating the way a team should.
Yeah.
And it's being very successful. Why do electricians get that reputation? And how do we avoid it? Because that doesn't make me want to work with you on a team.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from our own ego, but it also comes from the fact that electricians seem to be ones that push back a lot on certain scope or schedule constraints. And the other thing is, when we get buried, so to speak, and I'm specifically talking about drywalling. I mean,
yeah,
there are times when we get buried. What's really cool about this project is the general contractor uses a drone that flies through the entire building on a regular basis. And it actually, yeah, they did it during Rough-In. They did it multiple times. And so if we're like, hey, there should be something behind this wall, they can actually go back to that time frame, reference that location, and say, yep, it's roughly in this 6 by 6 inch area.
That's genius.
Yeah, it was really neat to see. And
wow.
So, that's one thing where technology really helps out, but it also takes the pressure off of, so back in our day,
well, don't lump me into your day.
You were even before me.
Wow, okay, that backfired on me.
It did. So it used to, the old saying was, oh, you got buried. Well, get your hammer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, now if you do that, you're going to get charged, because you're going to get back charged. That's
you can say stupid.
That's stupid. It's egotistical.
Yeah. You can say other things.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I think a lot of that comes from our ego. I want to start seeing the trades in general approach a project from a goal or a mission oriented stance, where it's, hey, we're trying to come up with solutions. We're going to have problems.
Yeah.
But there's no good point in pointing out a problem if you don't have a solution or are going to help toward a solution. Now, yeah, somebody's going to have to pay for a mistake or an error that happens, but that can be hashed out.
Yeah.
What can't be hashed out is, all right, are we going to just yell at each other back and forth for the next, several days and not move on this? No, we have to come to a conclusion and figure out what the best approach forward is. And I think that comes from a place of humility.
Mm.
We're not perfect.
Yeah.
No trade is perfect. And sometimes it's not even our fault that things go imperfectly. Sometimes it's outside constraints. There's, manufacturing delays. There's, something gets lost in the mail. Illnesses wipe through certain companies at times. So sometimes there's circumstances that are beyond our control. But when they are in our control, we need to, one, recognize who's responsible for what happened. And then as a team say, all right, well, if that's going to delay you here, maybe I can move over here and we'll come back to that and we can get it finished up still on the same deadline, but maybe out of a different sequence.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to see tradespeople become more professional, which I think we are. Not just legacy, but I think as an industry, I'm slowly seeing younger teams of electricians from different companies respecting each other.
Yeah.
And instead of tearing each other down. Now, you talk about TikTok and Instagram and all that, but I'm still on Facebook from time to time. And,
that's revealing of your age.
But one of the new things that's coming out is like, somebody will be like, "Hey, I'm a third-year apprentice. Here's my first, installation of a 480 volt 2000 amp service. How did I do? Rate my project. Open to suggestions." And you'll just see people tear apart what someone else did. Now, I know that some of those are like spoof accounts and they're just trolls and trying to get responses.
Yeah.
But there are some out there that are like, "Oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that." And then somebody's like, "Oh, your grounding conductor electrode is too small," and blah, blah.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah.
You're looking at a picture. You don't know what that is exactly.
Right.
So I just think it's funny. We are kind of the first ones to tear each other down. Each other down.
It's cold. It's hard to make your lips move. Yeah.
So I feel like that is changing in a positive direction.
It needs to change.
Yeah.
Just the other day, I saw something on LinkedIn, and I'm on the adult social media platform. That's going to bite me in the butt that I said that.
Flood his page.
Yeah. But I was on, and someone made a comment. I'm not even going to say what they say or what they said because, but I was blown away at the hateful, ridiculous response of people, and it was like visceral. And it's like, really? Is that how you talk with people face to face? And if it is, like when I was an apprentice, if I would have talked to someone face to face that way, let's just be clear. For when I grew up, I would have got popped in the mouth.
Oh yeah,
and maybe I did. But the reality is, it's like, why talk that way to people? If you disagree, you think that I'm getting distracted because my face I can't feel anymore.
I just got a haircut, some.
Yeah, but it's like, in all reality, that does not gain you anything by doing that.
No. I think that when people get angry and hateful and visceral like that, one, it shows their insecurity.
Yeah.
And it shows that they're scared of something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But
hang on, can I just stop you for a second?
Sure.
Hey guys, could you turn down the wind? The wind is getting a little ridiculous. I know we're in the studio here, and I just would like you to turn that down because it's a little nuts. I saw a podcast with Matthew McConaughey, and they made it look like he was out in the desert in his Airstream, and it turns out they were in a studio. And I'm like, lazy ass.
I'm just waiting for the sun to clear that cloud again.
Yeah, feel a little warm.
Yeah.
So what is, I always ask people, what's a tool or a piece of gear that you can't live without? But I guess for you, you've answered that a couple of times. What is the most important thing that you need to do your job?
That is a hard one.
Holy crap! I said turn the wind down.
Yeah, just add a few more fans there. It's good. I want to say patience, but that's not the right word that I'm looking for. More and more, as I interact with all sorts of different people at all sorts of different levels, grace is becoming one of the biggest things that I have to struggle with. And I know, you and I have talked before, and I think one of your critiques is you're too nice, that I'm too nice.
What?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say something like that.
But I don't have to be mean or angry at someone to get to the end goal of what we're working toward.
True.
And I guess my own horn, I don't want to get angry.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm like when I'm angry.
Yeah.
So I struggle with, I don't think I struggle with having grace for people. Sometimes it can be too much. It's finding the balance of having grace. And with that, knowing when to apply more pressure and when to let things go.
Does grace, I always say to people, I don't want to be nice. I want to be kind. because I think nice is bullshit.
Mhm.
And my reasoning for that is I think people are nice to people to placate them, and they're not telling you the truth.
Well, being nice is fake.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to be fake. But when you talk about grace, I don't know that I think that grace means that you are a pushover. I don't know that I think grace means that you take the teeth out of what you say. You can be gracious and be firm.
Mhm.
I'm a father, and I have two young boys who are becoming men, and I have a daughter who is living life as an adult now. And the other day I was talking to one of my kids, and what I had to say to them was fine, but I didn't say it with grace. And it was like I could have said it with grace, and the reality is then it would have landed, then it would have been effective. And my son, who I was talking with, just looked at me and he's like, "Well, why are you talking to me like that? Like I don't need to." And listen, I'm not sitting here wanting to share with you my family crap, but I want to be real. And the reality is, in that moment, I was like, "Wow." I was frustrated with the situation, and that should be the first flag for me. And then, because of that, I reacted. That should be the second flag. When we reaction is never the right answer. You want to respond. If you're, and one of the biggest things that I think in leadership and in life is that we need to work on our mental capacity to affect our minds so that when things happen that make us react, that we train ourselves to be like, all right, I'm not going to react to that.
Oh yeah.
I saw a thing on a crisis chaos situation, and there was a soldier in it, and it was some documentary or whatnot, and he responded, but he didn't react. Like and maybe he reacted, I don't know, but let me define the words. And what I mean by that is he wasn't running. I mean, he was moving quickly. He was taking care of things, but it wasn't like this chaotic reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, all right, this is my response.
Measured and controlled.
Measured and controlled.
It's the smooth is fast.
Yeah.
Slow is smooth.
Smooth is fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have slowed down there.
You should have slowed down. You reacted. It wasn't good. Listen, I get it. When you have things thrown at you like freezing tundra winds, and your feet are like, I'm trying to float my feet above the ice here. But
well, if I can add on to you're sharing some,
you can do whatever you want,
family crap. I have a good example. I mean, just recently, I have two daughters that are in their teens, and they're quickly coming upon the age to start driving soon.
Sorry,
yeah,
been there. Love that.
But we're trying to get them out and do things out of their comfort zone. So recently, my wife and I have been taking them to the gym a couple nights a week, and sometimes they want to go, most of the time they don't.
Yeah,
and it's frustrating because it takes time and effort to get them there, and then when we start a workout, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to be here right now. It's like, okay, me either. And so when you say first sign is frustration, well, I'm getting frustrated, and so. But my one daughter I was like, do you know how to do this exercise? No. All right, well, I'll show you. Demonstrated. She wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So I went to say, all right, go. We're going to do this for 40 seconds. She's like, what am I doing? Okay, well, put your arms and legs like this. Now move those, not those. All right, now that. And I instead of getting angry and yelling at her, I had to kind of physically be like, move this arm, move this leg.
Yeah.
All right, now pull them. Now do the other ones. Okay. And it took her a couple times to get it. But by the time we were on our third set of them, she was doing them fine. Yeah. I didn't get mad. I didn't yell. Got the outcome I wanted. And now she can do something that she couldn't do just 2 minutes prior to that. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean when I say grace. It has to be balanced and measured. Now, of course, in my next breath, it was like, hey, we're going to go do this. No, I don't want to. All right, back to the same cycle.
Yeah, keeps repeating itself.
So
balanced and measured. I like that. How do you apply that on the job site and in the the electrical nursery, as we talked about it? How do you apply that there? And not even just in training electricians, but dealing with people, because dealing with people is frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I said the quiet part out loud.
Well, I mean, clear communication is paramount, but I struggle with that at times. I think everybody does. Whether we want to say something and don't, or we're like, oh yeah, we're going to say that, and then it just never comes up, or we miss the opportunity, etc.
Yeah.
But balanced and measured is, I think, if a problem arises, you're not reacting right away. You're saying, well, let me look into that. Let's see what the best choices are and move forward. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get the solution right, but it's a lot better than spinning your wheels for days on end, trying to hobble together something that ultimately isn't going to work in the end, or isn't going to be working for the long term.
Yeah.
And then you have to revisit it again.
Yeah.
Just to placate what is perceived as an emergency when it's not. So I balanced and measured is difficult out in the field. I'd say it's almost easier when dealing with people.
Yeah.
Because at least there we can address it on an individual basis. But when it's a moving, growing project, problems arise and you kind of have to jump on them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people suffer or schedule suffers.
I recently had a person ask me, they were talking to me about leadership in their company, not your company. It's a different situation, a client. And they said, what do you do when, whatever that is,
Hey, badass leadership.
Military ship flying. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Totally lost my thought because I'm distracted by an aircraft flying over. That's pretty sick. But I was this guy reached out to me and he goes, what do I do when I don't know where my leader is going? Well, what do I do when leadership is going a direction and I don't understand and I don't know? He said, am I supposed to follow even though I don't fully have the picture of where we're going? What would you say to him?
Well, I guess it would be more of a question. So, do you trust your team?
Ooh, good answer.
I lean on members of our team and employees down the line all the time, and it's not just a trust that is just given out freely.
Yeah,
it's because I've seen them perform.
Yeah,
and I trust them to work through something. And if they have a bigger problem, they'll reach out to me.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't agree with where your team leads are going, then maybe you need to become more active in your team role.
Yeah.
And become a leader again.
Yeah.
So, and it's not to say that leaders can and should follow at times.
Yeah.
Because if the leader's always out front, eventually they're going to burn out.
Yeah.
They need to depend on those that they trust to put into other leadership positions to
Agreed.
Pick up and go when they can.
Yeah.
So no individual, and I know we've talked about this at Legacy, and I know that we talked with you about it at Blackline, and no individual should make or break any organization.
Yeah. Agreed.
And so you need to start multifaceting your team.
Yeah.
Make leaders out of everyone that you can.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't want to be a leader, that's one thing, and that's okay. But if you see a leader and they start to grow into that role, lean on them and push them.
Yeah. My wife and I were watching the opening ceremonies of the Olympics a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago. I can't think straight right now because I'm freezing. But I think that business, and because I'm cold, I want to talk about the Summer Olympics. But I think business and life is a lot like the relay. In a relay race, you hand a baton, and it's about going a farther distance than it is about what you can do as an individual. When you talk about that in leadership, the ability to hand the baton off to someone else and trust that they're going to take it where it needs to go. They might run differently. They will run differently than you do. they will go at a different pace than you do or handle it differently than you do. But you need to hand it off to them and trust them. And they might fall. They might drop the baton. But that doesn't mean that you go alone. And when you go alone, you inevitably cannot do what you can do as a team. And I think that's been one of the biggest things for me is coming to a place where it's like, hey, that's not the way I would do it. But do I trust that individual to do it and to care about it the way that I would care about it? If I know that they care like I care, then I can trust to hand them the baton, and that they're not gonna do their best. They're gonna do everything that they can do to make that a success.
Right.
And it's like that's what we must do. We must endeavor for that success, and go after that.
Well, you're talking about the nursery of leadership, then, not just nursery of electricians.
Wow, we're just a bunch of children.
Just a bunch of children or plants. One or the other. Go both ways on that one. No, I think that leadership. Wow, I just totally lost my train of thought too.
That's okay. It's freezing cold.
The nursery of leaders.
Yeah.
You have to give, if you're going to make somebody a leader or they're going to take that role, they have to work through some difficulty.
Yeah.
You can't just hand them the tools and be like, hey, just keep doing it like this. You're going to be fine. No, you're not. That's called stagnation.
Yeah.
So that's really what I wanted to say. Like, yes, it's going to be different. It's going to look different, but eventually they're going to figure it out and it's going to work for them.
Yeah.
And I just hope my learning curve isn't too long. So.
Well, you bring up hardship there, and it's like you can't always save people. Sometimes they got to go through the problem themselves. Mm-hmm. The things that I've learned in my career in life are because of hardship. Those are the things that have stuck with me. And you use the nursery analogy. Years ago, my wife started a cut flower farm, and I wanted to help her. And so in the evenings and on the weekends, I would go out in the field and I would work with her, and I would be like, "Oh, these flowers are beautiful," and I'd be looking at them, and she would come through with these pruning shears and just chop the heads right off the flowers. There'd be all these dead flower heads all over the ground. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she said to me, and this was really interesting, that flower, when it just grew out of the ground a couple of inches, and then there was this beautiful flower blooming. And she said, I want them to grow tall so I can put them in a bouquet. And she said, once it blooms like that, it will not strive to grow farther.
Right.
But if I prune the head off, it will continue to grow until it gets to the height that it should be, that it needs to be, in order to be part of a beautiful bouquet. And I was like, I never knew that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. And so it makes them strive. And so sometimes I think when we're mentoring leaders or electricians or plumbers or HVAC guys, whoever it is, maybe we don't always give them all the answers, and maybe we'd be like, hey, figure that out, push a little harder, try to think for yourself there. Mm-hmm. Try to not just stand there and look at what needs to be done, but think about what needs to be done and try to figure that out.
Yep. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's the skill set that I want, someone that thinks critically and can solve problems.
Yeah. I was just telling my youngest son the other day about when I was an apprentice, and what gave me success was I would be working with the journeyman, and he was like in his 70s, and I was working with him. I was so blessed to work with a guy that had been around the block like this, and I had to learn what he was doing and what he was looking at, and like I was his shadow, and so, but I got to the point where it was like, I realized, oh, he's going to need a screwdriver. Oh, he's going to need a channel lock. Oh, he's going to need a pliers. Oh, and so I would make sure that I had it in my hand. And when he went to reach for it, I would hand it to him.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that changes your growth trajectory, and it helps you learn critical thinking. Like if you're a young person and you're working in the trade, don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. Watch what's happening. Try to learn and see what's coming next. Anticipate, and that way, when you do that, then you're learning and growing and advancing. When you learn and grow, then you advance to the next level. And then you're able to help someone else grow up into that level as well.
Absolutely. You're pulling the team up that hill. That's exactly what it is.
So you've experienced some hardship. You were sharing with me some different things and trying not to get angry in situations and trying to have grace for people. What is it that you would tell, not the young people in the trades, but the people who are in your position now, as we're closing this out, because I can no longer feel my toes. Yeah. But what is it that you would say to vice presidents, presidents, owners, to the people who are running organizations? What is it that you would tell them that they need to be about if we're going to have a successful future at all in these industries?
Man, these are hard questions.
Well, I'm chopping the flower head off here. You need to strive to be part of the bouquet.
Oh.
Well, that sounded weird.
That did sound weird. So I think from a executive leadership, management, owner position, we need to start treating the trades like they're humans.
Ooh.
We need to start treating them like they're not just a tool to be thrown around or thrown into situations.
Come on.
Expect that it has to happen the way that they want it.
Come on.
We all have different skill sets.
Yeah.
Some of us are stronger with the installation. Some of us are stronger with figuring out the planning. Some of us are stronger with understanding code and what we have to do as far as instead of what we want to do.
Yeah.
But with that, there's a human touch to that.
Come on.
It is an art form to do the trades. I'll say that about drywall. I can't do that to save my life. I'm in awe of people that can do it. I know that there are a lot of people that can do it, but it's a skill that I don't have.
Yeah.
Just like there's skills that electricians have that I don't have, even though I am an electrician.
Yeah.
So we're human. We have different strengths, different weaknesses, different traits on it. I think we need to start treating each other and treating the tradesmen as humans. So it's not being nice to them. It's being kind.
Yeah.
Have expectations, set high goals, but understand that we're all trying to get this done. We're trying to get projects done. We're trying to complete tasks. If we're just sitting there on our phone playing games and scrolling Instagram or whatever, all right, that's a different issue.
Yeah.
But if we're actively working and struggling and trying to come up with solutions, then we need to just appreciate that from a mindset of that is a person doing what they can to get it done.
Yeah.
And it will get done. This building will be done very soon.
Yeah.
Have there been struggles? Sure.
Yeah.
Have there been tense moments? Sure. But it's going to successfully complete. And in a year from now, no one will even remember how the project went.
Yeah.
It'll just be something you drive by and be like, that was a good project.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look a little bit bigger picture.
Yeah.
And not get so angry or contentious in the moment.
Yeah.
Balanced and measured.
Balanced and measured. I like that. I think that's something that overall we could all strive to be a little better at, is being balanced and measured. So, Chris, I appreciate you for freezing out here with me on this frozen tundra, inviting me to your project here, and thank you for stepping up to the line and leading with us here today.
Well, thank you for having me. This was enjoyable.
Good deal. You don't have to lie. It was freezing freaking cold.
It's cold.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go sit in my truck and try to feel my extremities come back.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Yeah.